Welcome back to All for United WFC. I can hear the intro twice because I've got it open on YouTube. There we go. I can hear that. I hear what I'm actually saying now. United 2, Bristol 0. It's a bit of a weird feeling. This we won the game. Not pleasantly impressed myself personally, but we shall see what the other guys think on this one. As always, get your comments in over the next hour or so. You know how fan reviews work by now. Got Reese with us, another debutant, another Vavel member who was also at the game yesterday, covering it so going to offer us more of a neutral perspective on this one as well. But we did have a chat after the game yesterday, so I can imagine roughly what you're going to say on this one. So welcome to the channel, Reese. We said you'd get you on, so it's great to see you on here, and obviously Jess, Charlie, and Andy Slater is back on as well to give us all the knowledge of what we saw yesterday at Ashton Gate. There's Charlie's dog as well, who always likes to make an appearance on this one. Right, Jess, I'll come to yourself first then. Just that first half. Let's go through that. Obviously, we'll do it in order. Very slow, few chances. Obviously, there was a couple in there. Millie Turner forcing a good save. The keeper did have to make a couple of good saves, but yeah, again, for United, it's pretty much what we've seen for the majority of the season, isn't it? Just that kind of slow, kind of passing around, not really having that kind of clinical edge that we've seen in recent years.
Yeah, it's a bit bland, to be honest with you. I was basically bored, to be honest, for most of the first half. There just wasn't really a lot going on. Overall, I thought their keeper put in a few good saves, but that first half, there just wasn't really much going on at all. I think we're just too slow on the ball. There were a number of chances where I saw that we could have broken in behind them with like a bit of a through ball and just nothing, just too kind of content passing it along the back line or along midfield and then back to the defence, rather than looking to make those forward runs. You know, like the first thing you kind of learn when you start playing football is that defenders don't like running back towards their own goal. So why are we not putting in like through balls when we can?
It's certainly an interesting one, of course. Me straight away in the comments heard Vavel has been summoned straight away. So you got a big at Reese on here as well because first time and solo in it as well. When we had Polly on for the first time, we had Mia as company as well. So fair play to Reese. He's fully soloing and flying the Vavel flag on this one. Charlie, over to yourself in terms of that first half. As Jesse said there, there's a lot of kind of, again, sideways passing is something we always speak about a lot. It's not necessarily an awful thing if you move the ball quick. United at the moment seem to be very slow and don't really seem to have a way of breaking teams down. Obviously, we know Bristol were always going to sit back a little bit. It worked well against Arsenal when they played them there a month or so ago. What do you think it is with United at the moment, this kind of slow first half and just what we're seeing at the moment?
Yeah, it's almost like robotic. Like there's times when you're standing there and you're literally going, now she's going to pass to her, and then now they're going to pass back to the centre back, and now the other centre back's going to have it, and then it'll go to Hannah, and then it'll go back again. And there's nothing wrong with that really if you're trying to keep possession and, like you say, you're probing and you're moving the ball quickly and there's movement in front of you. But there's just very little of that, which is strange when you think about sort of the attackers that we've got at our disposal. The only time in the game when it really felt like something would happen was when Jace got the ball and she forced the issue and she ran out and committed Bristol defenders. But Bristol weren't great. They offered very little. I think one save maybe Mary had to make. They were appalling, almost as bad as the crowd that were there. But yeah, it just seems like there's very little creativity. There's minimal risks being taken. I don't mean risks just for the risk's sake, but trying to make things happen. Like players that used to play those through balls like May are just not doing that now. Even when you can see, we were quite high up at the ground, and you could see there were times when Parris was expecting those things to happen and was making runs and just got a bit of an isolated and frustrated figure when it wasn't happening. So it just doesn't seem to be clicking very well at the moment. And I feel like with the squad that we have, we should be the likes of Bristol and Leicester and Brighton. We should be running rampant really at times, and we're just not doing that.
Apologies, I'm trying to put the player of the match poll in the chat. I thought you were going to carry on for another 20, 30 seconds. Slater, over to yourself. Charlie just mentioned her. Obviously, we saw it last season. Mayer and Millie, those kind of balls over the top. It was something that we know they can do. We saw it all for for majority of last season. What do you think it is at the moment with this United side? And Highland, I do see your question. I want to come back to that as a separate kind of conversation. But yeah, were you, I guess, expecting that first half against Bristol? You were a little bit surprised that we weren't kind of, I guess, more because we were on the front foot in terms of possession wise. Bristol didn't cause us any issues, but from a goal creation point of view, it never felt like we were going to score too many in that first half. You are muted as well, by the way.
Thanks for that, Connor.
There we go.
If you don't want me on, just say. Yeah, like Charlie said about the passing, it's like a dot to dot. You've got to hit every point on the way through. There's nobody just saying your left centre back to the right back to get away down the right. It's like pass to the next person, then they pass it on. It's like having to go bit by bit, and that just gives the opposition time to keep in the shape and cover all the channels. Ping a ball, even if it's not a through ball like over the top. Go, switch it from fullback to fullback, move it quicker, and that would make us look a lot quicker in general. It'd drag the opponents out of shape a lot more, which is what you want. I think when I saw the lineup, I was pleased. It looked a similar setup to the lineup that got 12 goals in 2 games, but there's just something missing. We either click or we don't, and when we click, it's brilliant, and when we don't, we're just like any other team outside the top 3. So yeah, I want to see a bit more adventure. I'd like to see. I know Katie Zellam's a hot topic as always, but I'd like to see her a bit further forward. I'd like to see her pick it up and get a bit of freedom to go and do something with it instead of being forced to sit as the 6 all the time, which I don't think she is. Get her in the middle of the park instead of in front of the back 4, and get her looking for the long balls and the through balls. She's got a great passing range. I think that'd unlock a lot. Although I do like Miyazawa and Toone as kind of twin 10s when it works, but when it's so pedestrian, it doesn't matter who's playing in there. You just need a bit of verve. And like Charlie said again, Jace gives that verve. She gets on the ball and suddenly we look energetic. But where's everybody else? Anytime we get the ball down the wings, we've got players waiting outside the box. It's like everybody wants to be the late arrival in the box to surprise the defence and score, but you need people in the box for that late arrival to be effective. So there's just too much hesitancy whenever we look to go forward.
I think you hit the nail on the head there. And TJ, I hear your point. Obviously, Bristol did part of the bus to an extent, and that's why you move the ball quick, because the only way you're going to break down a low block like that is moving the ball quick from side to side to move the defence out of position. And eventually a gap will open up and you play that ball through. But we don't, because we move the ball so slow, as Charlie and Andy just said there. Because you can predict it. Me and Shane and Rob were literally simply going, this is going to Mayer. This is going to Jade. This is going back to Mayer. Like you can, and it's always 2 or 3 touches, then a pass. It's never first time. It's never that switch, which we weren't doing this last season. So I don't understand. Reece, over to yourself. Obviously, you're a neutral, so I'm intrigued to hear what you what your thoughts are on this in terms of United's obviously slow start. Again, were you expecting that? What were your thoughts on United in that first half?
I mean, I was expecting a slow start, maybe not to that extent. But when you see, last weekend's result, you don't want to go out there and be 1-0 down against a Bristol City side that are quite capable. So yeah, I wasn't surprised by the slow start. I was more surprised by how there was no threat in that United side at all. Like you said, it's so predictable. You can work out where every pass is going, and if we can work that out from the stands, then do you know what I mean? A Bristol City side that have had a week to prepare for it, they're going to be on top of the game as well. And defensively, they're solid. Liv Clark, we've already mentioned, before the show, is fantastic. You've really got to just create as many chances as possible against Bristol, and just one of them's going to work. And they just didn't in the first half. Second half was a lot better, but yeah, that first half was disappointing, but I don't think it was necessarily unexpected.
No, I think that's a fair point, because I think we were trying to chat in the concourse pre-game. Whoever was in there, what we're referring to. You couldn't really speak to anyone because the drummers in there were so loud. You were basically shouting to each other to have some kind of conversation. But that's one of the things we were saying. Like, what happens if we do go 1 down today, or like we do end up like chasing the game here or something like that? The nerves that go around the squad. It's already a kind of heading that way in terms of on the edge at the moment. But Jess, for yourself, I'll throw it back to you, and obviously this is an open conversation to everyone. In terms of, I wanted to mention Jace in particular because Charlie mentioned her a second ago in terms of she's the only one that really looked like she was driving us forward and things like that. But again, it comes back to the whole thing, the decision making at times, especially in that first half. And for me, she seems to have a good first 20, 25 minutes and then really fades kind of into the close to half time. And the second half, we don't really see the best of her unless she's coming off from the bench. But what have you made of her in that first half in terms of, I guess, our only real threat in terms of driving the ball forward? And do you think it's, again, a tactical thing that it seems to be just all on her to get the ball from midfield to attack?
Yeah, I mean, I wonder kind of how she's feeling sort of playing in this team, because when you kind of watch the game, every time she gets the ball, the reason we're so excited is because she seems to be one of the only players that's looking to drive forward. And whilst I don't think that necessarily she always makes the right decision when she gets into the final third or around the edge of the box, I think her final kind of touch or a final decision can be a little bit hit and miss. I think she is the only one that kind of gets you thinking, okay, right, something's going to happen here. Every time anyone else even attempts to go forward, I'm never convinced that anything's actually going to come of it. I think at least Jace does bring in some excitement. So that kind of makes me think, is it that when we get into kind of the second half of games, is she just sort of had enough of being the only person looking to drive forward? Is it a fitness issue? I know she was sort of kind of coming off a bit slow as we started the season. So it is a possibility. But she just doesn't, and I kind of will put this out for the whole team, they don't really seem to be singing off the same hymn sheet or gelling at all. But she seems to be, really one player that is kind of just doing her own thing. And I think what she's doing is kind of right, looking to drive forward, looking to be positive, bringing some excitement into the game so that, the fans are wanting to get behind the team as well. But I just wonder if that's kind of leaving her a bit more sort of isolated when it comes to the kind of team and the game plan. Because she clearly, I think you just see her start to get frustrated as the game goes on. So it's a difficult one. I do think that there's got to be her fitness just doesn't quite seem to stack up for me. From the start of the season to now, she always seems to look like she's flagging. I don't think it can all just be because she's the only one looking to drive forward. So I think there's definitely quite a few question marks around her, I'd say.
Yeah, I mean, and Charlie and obviously Andy, obviously you're saying this as well in terms of Jace in particular, but it feels like, because I send a lot of clips to my mates kind of abroad about Jace. I'm like, oh, look at this, she's beating it. And the reply is, yeah, look how many times she beats the player and it hits the first player on the cross. It's always the same. Oh, yeah, she can beat a player, but that end product isn't there. The pass is always to an opposition. It's always, but again, Charlie, what do you think on what Jess said in terms of, it seems like she's trying to do it all because no one else is making that kind of run off the ball?
I think in the first half, she was unlucky not to have one or two assists in the first half. I think there was a time early on when she played that she got the ball sort of onto the byline and then played it to Parris, and then the Bristol keeper made a really good save on sort of like the half volley, and then she was instrumental. There was a time when she ran from fairly deep, got the ball into the box and was muscled off, but she fought really hard to regain the ball. I think you might remember she was literally on the floor. She'd been barreled over and won the ball back and laid it off to Hinata and Zellum, and then there was another really good chance for Leah, and she didn't tuck it away. So I think she created all sorts of opportunities, and we just weren't clinical and we didn't take them. I also think it's really difficult to find a teammate in the box whenever you often run into the box and try and make passes into the box and there's no one else there. I think that's really difficult. So the likelihood is it's an opposition player that's going to get it. So I wouldn't be surprised if she was frustrated. It's frustrating watching them. There's no one running in at the near post or the far post or being in the 6-yard box. So I don't really know what more she can do. She tries to create things. There's no one there. So
yeah, I think one example of the poor decision making, which may be down to the fitness thing, is in the City game. I know we don't want to hark back to that. We want to put it into the back of our minds and not go over it again. But the build up to that disallowed goal. Now, the disallowed goal decision was bizarre, but in the build-up, Jace had about a week to put it across for an open net, and then delayed, and then suddenly it's hitting a defender and coming back out for whatever happened after that. And I think there's a little bit of that sometimes. Like, she's great with the ball at her feet. You know, she sometimes looks like she's not quite got control of it, but always seems to keep it. And she can beat a player 3 times to get past him. But then once she's there, she's either is she too tired? Is the lack of fitness kicking in? Is she not used to having somebody on the end of a cross because they're always outside the box trying to delay the runs too much? But yeah, I don't know. She looks like the most exciting player on the pitch almost every time she's on the pitch. But there's just that something missing. Is she too far ahead of the rest of the players and they can't keep up? Is she lacking fitness? Hopefully Skinner can find out.
I think it's a bit of everything. You know, obviously, a lot of none of us on here doubt her ability. It's certainly not on the ball. I think that's the most frustrating thing for me is a couple of things. One, I guess that decision making in the final third. Obviously, you mentioned the chance against City, but also the other players just maybe not being on her wavelength. And I was reading something from Skinner's press conference yesterday where he was talking about we're going to be 3 months away from what he sees as this our best kind of front line. Well, to me, that's too late. Because the season's gone by then. 3 months from now, you're kind of looking at kind of end of February. I know we've got the break in the middle of this. Top 3 could be gone by then. We could be at the FA Cup by then. Like it's just that's too long. For I get you've got to give players time to bed into a side. I don't know. That seems a bit of an odd comment to me.
I equally find that frustrating. I think that's always seems to be like a Man United manager thing, is to say new to the team, need to bed in. Jill Roord scoring goals for fun. Like I don't get that as a process. Like you're getting in world-class players and it's going to take them 3 or 4 months in what is a very short season to bed in. And if that's the case, every time you get in 3 or 4 players in the summer transfer window, you're never, ever going to be in a position where your squad is ready to compete.
I think it's a cop-out, isn't it? Like, it's very easy to say, oh, we've got new players and they're trying to integrate with the team. But if you've got players that are taking this long to integrate, then in my opinion, you've gone for the wrong players in the transfer window. You've gone for players that aren't going to fit with the structure that you want your team to be. They're not going to fit in with the tactics or the formation or whatever you envision for your team. If you've got players that are taking months and months and are still not getting there, then you've gone for the wrong players. Now, I don't know whether that's just bad luck or whether it's poor recruitment, whether it's panic buying at the end of the window. There can be a whole host of reasons. But I think, I'm with Charlie. You can't use that as an excuse. It's just a cop-out.
I think my issue with that is I'm all for a front 3 or a front 4 or front 5 that can interchange and, the left winger and the striker switch and they're comfortable in all positions. But if you're talking about taking a while to gel, give a player a position, let him settle in that position before you ask him to then spend 10 minutes up front and then drift to the right for a bit. Because when it works, that's great. When the players know each other, that's what you want. Be unpredictable. But let the players settle first. Keep Jace on the right. Let her run at the same fullback all game. Let her terrorise one player and concentrate on doing one job. Get Mallard in front of goal. And I don't mind her on the wing. I don't mind her dropping deep. But the goals she scored are poachers' goals. Get her in there where she can score those kind of goals that she's already been doing. Get them playing the way they can in one position and then tweak it. And because that's, if you're going to use time to gel as an excuse, then make it an easier job for them to gel.
But I think it's important to point out that, injuries as well haven't necessarily made it the easiest. You know what I mean? Gabby George, you'd expect to start in that defence. She's out with her ACL, so it's not his first choice team every week, is it? I know that's only one player, but when you say he's signed the wrong players, it's kind of, he might have signed the ones that he wants for a system, but you take one player out of that system, and you do need to tweak it, and he's just not got that right yet. I don't feel.
I don't know whether I want to say this or not. I personally don't think he knows what the right positions are. Sport is saying there is Jace a winger. I don't think he knows. I think he's trying her in different positions because he wants, that he did I can't remember what it was, but he got asked about Mallard in particular, asking what her best position is. And his answer was, well, we brought her as a left winger, but her goals have been down the middle, but she can play on the right. Well, which one is it? Pick her position. And as you said, Andy, especially when we've had so many new players in, albeit they're not all of them are starting, kind of seeing it out. I said during the game, Jace had that the left fullback, beat every time. But then Jace was going back into the middle, and Parris went back out to the right. And we're going to get on to Parris. I thought Parris did well, but Jace had the beating of her, put Mallard down the middle, and I don't know. To me, it's just bizarre, and I think we're playing around too much this season with things that are not necessarily working. And it's going to cause issues in the long run. I said that for a couple of weeks now, that I think we're going to get to February, March. We might be better off, I don't know, but the way things are going, I personally can't see it. I just wanted to quickly bring this up, Andy, because it's a special shout out to you. Saying, let's get Lee France. Exactly, going up in the world now. We've managed to, we're trying for a few weeks to get Andy back on.
I don't know. You said trying for a few weeks. I asked you, and then yesterday you forgot I was even on. Like, who's on tomorrow, Connor? Oh, I don't know. I think Charlie's on. Oh, hang on, you're on, aren't you? Very professional, Connor. Made me feel very welcome.
I can't believe I've just been exposed like that live on air. Yeah, it's been a busy week. It's terrible, isn't it? I've deleted that photo as well from StreamYard, so nobody can bring that on screen. So
You can never really delete a photo. Like,
Yeah, I could just go back on my phone and put it up on the screen. Where there's a will, there's a way.
Indeed.
What photo's this? Have I not seen this?
Oh no, we don't need to see it again.
Find it. I'll find it and I'll just put it on the screen on my phone.
Look what you've done now. Yes, I know you've corrected yourself saying not in the wild, not 20 in the wild in the WSL that last word is supposed to. But I agree, and we've seen this is what annoys me. I think we've seen players come into Arsenal, into Chelsea, into City, hit the ground running. Why is it United? We've got to wait for so long on that one. We shall see. Right, should we talk about this first goal then? Because a bit of a positive. We are going to get Sporty. I will get back to you. I think it was Sporty or Highland. One of you asked the question about kind of the tactical setup earlier on. I will get back to that question in just a second. But the first goal, massive deflection, not going to lie. But Jess, obviously, Miyazawa's got her first goal now. She's kind of off the mark, so to speak. Anything to add on the goal itself?
I think... Well, I don't know what to say because it was just such a massive deflection. It was almost a shame for the Bristol keeper, to be fair, because she was doing really well. But I think in a game like that, it was only ever going to be a stupid, fluky goal that kind of got us off the ground. So I think it came at a really good time. And I'm really happy that Miyazawa was just sort of off the mark, to be honest, with a goal. And just before you move on, this is the picture of Connor eating a burger with
I wish I could swear on it.
With his hands like a savage.
I can't believe you, Jeff. Exposing me again on here.
Connor, this is why you're in my phone as TalkSport wannabe. It's because all this cutlery thing, it's just for the scandal, isn't it? You are a handheld burger eater. You just talk about the cutlery to drum up some controversy and attract some attention.
No, because that one in particular, it's a tight. I took that one apart as well, by the way. I did say this on the show when Barry brought that picture up. I did take that one apart because you can't. Yeah, kind of just broke it into little layers of like.
It's sat there at like a service station. Mackies, like
I'm sure I nearly did that. Which I was muted for a little bit. Yes, he did. My point was, Dave, I deleted it from StreamYard so people can't just bring it center screen like Barry did, where it was full screen. But Jess just decided to take it upon herself just to.
You're welcome.
Yeah, people love you for that as well. Shane's a big fan of you, obviously Mia is as well. I just can't believe this.
This is how you win awards, Connor.
This is the quality content that people come to this channel for. You should be thankful, Connor.
This is the stuff that will lead to silver next time.
It will.
Oh God! How is this the theme for the channel? It's become
because yesterday was dreadful. That's why.
You keep bringing it up. Burgers. You bring it up.
Hang on a minute. I didn't bring this one up. Someone did in the comments, and I referenced it back. Is what I did there.
Bring it up.
Here we go. what we're talking about anyway. We're talking about Miyazawa's goal. Go on, Charlie. Take us away on that one. Anything to add on the goal itself?
Yeah, just thrilled. Obviously, she came with the title World Cup Golden Boot winner. But actually, if you look at her career, that's not been a primary not objective, but that's not been her primary role, is to be a goal scorer. So it was unusual that she did that at the World Cup. But yeah, it's nice to see her get her first goal. Deflection or no deflection, don't really care. I don't think we were going to score any other way. It was going to be a deflection or in off someone's arse or something, wasn't it, for us to get that first goal? And yeah, chuffed it was her. Really pleased for her.
I will say that's such a good comment, Shane. I like that. I'll let you have that as comment of the day so far, unless someone comes in and takes that title off you for the next half an hour or so. Andy, go on, take us away on Miyazawa's goal. She came with the golden boot tag, even though she's not really known for scoring. Obviously over in Japan, that wasn't really what she was known for. Only a couple of goals in a few years. Yeah, what have you made of I guess, her performance in the game, but also obviously the goal itself?
I think exactly what Charlie said. It's that golden boot means very little going into the domestic season. That's not what she's here for. But if she can get on the score sheet and get into those positions, I think the biggest contribution that she has so far is for all the people that want Toone to do so well, because the Lioness fans, Miyazawa next to Toone brings out a much better Ella Toone. Generally speaking, yesterday, she had 2 assists, Ella Toone. Not that anybody had a great game, but I think Miyazawa, finding those little pockets of space, she's much better in tight spaces. I think she brings out the best in Toone and helps Toone to find better passes when players are getting forward and getting in the right positions. So I think she does make the team better rather than just an individual performer. So I think that's the biggest contribution.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. I mean, Reece, what did you make of Miyazawa's kind of performance yesterday and her kind of, I guess, role in this United side? This is probably the most consistent 3 we've seen in the midfield with Salam, Toone and Miyazawa in there. But what did you make of her yesterday in terms of her overall performance, obviously getting that goal and what that could potentially do to kind of kickstart maybe a couple of goals for us this season?
Yeah, I mean, I think she's been decent so far this season. I don't think she's been the standout player at all. I think she's just kind of quietly got on with what she's there to do. But yeah, I think, to be fair, some fans have had like artificially high expectations of what to expect from her after she got the golden boot this summer and whatnot. But yeah, I think the goal will do the world of good in terms of confidence. And yeah, I mean, it's nice to see a player that does just tick over in midfield and kind of goes unnoticed. It's nice to see her get recognition with a goal. So yeah.
Yeah, I didn't really register that it'd gone in, to be honest, from where we were, because the deflection was that big and the ball was it kind of almost like trickled over the line. It didn't really register that it actually crossed the line from where we were, but yeah, we'll take it. Like I said, she's off the mark now, which is good, and I agree with you, Reece. I don't think she's been amazing since she's come in. I think people are overhyping her, but I also think some people are maybe not giving her the praise that she deserves. I think she's just been all right. Yeah, most of the squad have, so I don't think that's a good or bad thing at the moment. So, I want to talk about Ella Toone as well, because obviously, Slater, you just mentioned it there, so I'm actually going to come straight back to you on this one. Into you said obviously brings out the best in Ella Toone as well. What do you make of Toone's performance overall? She's on the player of the match poll again for kind of the 3rd game running now for us, so she's clearly doing something right in the eyes of us. But yeah, what do you make of Toone's performance? Obviously, she got the 2 assists, but overall, what have you made of her in this?
I think the discourse around her is down to lack of goals. We've seen her score some brilliant goals, some important goals. So when she's not scoring, you assume she's underperforming. I think she's almost. I think she could be better at times as a midfielder rather than a 10, because she gets stuck in. She's up for the fight, and I think that's what sometimes we are missing a little bit in midfield. I think we've got Zelen being used as a 6, who would be better right in the middle of the park. I think Toone, who plays as a 10. And, overall that might be a best position, but with how she gets stuck in and how she gets into the fight of a game. And I think that is possibly a time where we could use her a bit further back, but looking forward when we get the ball, because she can win it, she can tackle. I That might make her a red card waiting to happen sometimes, but I think she probably doesn't get as much credit for the dirty work that she does sometimes, because she is one that will just get her head down and fight for the ball even if she's playing poorly. So it is a little bit concerning that she's not scoring as many, because she's probably the one that you do want arriving late in the box, but you need other players in the box so that she can be the late arrival once the defence is stretched. She can hit it long. She can, she's got a few world-class goals in her, so she's got a lot to offer in the final third. But I think get her involved a little bit deeper, and that's where I think Miyazawa as a 10 comes in. I don't think if we play one number 10, it's ever going to be Miyazawa over Toone, unless she's unavailable. I think it should be sometimes, but I want to see Toone be given a little bit more. I think we've got a deep midfield now, so I don't think she is going to be playing much deeper. But I'd like to see it tried. I'd like to see her right in the middle, getting stuck in, probably next to Zellum. It's old school, it's originals, but I think they're probably two players that one should drop a bit deeper from the 10 and one should push a bit higher up from the 6, and you might get the best out of both of them.
It's interesting. I want to come back to the midfield in just a second. Obviously, we did see Lad come on in the game as well, so I do want to come back to this conversation. But sticking with Toone, Charlie, what do you make of her yesterday? As I've said, obviously got the 2 assists, but I guess overall game, because we know with Toone she's going to lose the ball more than I guess our other midfielders, because she tries that risky pass more than I guess the other players do. But yeah, overall, we happy with her yesterday in terms of what she offered the side.
Yeah, I was happy. I think she's grown into the season, hasn't she? And I think you talk about the fact that there will be times when she tries things and they don't come off, a bit like Bruno does for the fellas, and people grumble and get frustrated about it. But I think you can't sit there and bemoan sort of a lack of creativity and flair, and then you have a player that tries to make those things happen and it doesn't always come off, and sort of moan about it. But yeah, I think like I said, I think she's on a positive trajectory. I think she was unlucky not to have a goal as well yesterday. It looked to me like the Bristol City defender played the ball, deliberately played the ball, and I think therefore that should put Toone on side. I think was it Toone or Parris was the other one. Might have been Parris actually. Maybe Toone should have had another assist. But yeah, another good game from her. I think we've always said the expectations of her seem to be a lot higher than they are of anyone else. I think that ramped up after the Euros, and that perhaps she was feeling that pressure for a little while. But there are so many big players and big names around her now that hopefully that will alleviate some of the pressure and just allow her to play her game.
You all stop speaking, Charlie, when I'm on another tab. When I've updated something.
Yeah, so press the button.
Go on, Jess, take it away. It's the same question for yourself anyway. So,
well, I mean, I'm a massive Ella Toone fan, massive fan. And I think it's great that she, like we kind of said, is sort of playing herself back into the season now. I think she's been a bit kind of hit and miss for maybe like a year, like Charlie says, kind of coming off the back of the Euros. She must have sort of felt that pressure. She almost went from kind of like someone that could just go around never being recognised to, like Shui says, getting papped eating a pasty. So, that's got to be a lot of pressure for her as well. And she's only young. So I think she's really sort of playing away into the season. I think centre mid's one of them positions where if you're playing it well, then the average person that maybe hasn't played football or doesn't really understand football potentially won't notice. It's a lot of kind of balls forward. We talk about that kind of like pre-assist. It's, balls forward like that. I think considering the way sort of the rest of the team are playing, I think she's, probably one of kind of the better players. She is, like Jace, she is looking to move forward. Like we've already said, she can kind of be there more susceptible to losing the ball, but at least you do feel like you're getting a little bit of sort of positivity from her. And I've seen, she's putting in some nice little bits of footwork as she moves the ball forward now. She's clearly kind of getting back into it and enjoying sort of playing again, or she seems like she is. I think it's a difficult kind of time for someone like Toone. But I think, like Slate said, get her in the middle. She loves to get stuck in. And she will get stuck in as well. If you need someone to kind of not be dirty, but sort of go for like the dark arts of football, she's the one you want to do it. So I'm hoping if she can keep kind of pushing forward, then the goals will come. There's no doubt about that.
I think for me, what was most impressive about her yesterday was the fact it's a week after she was dreadful against Man City. I thought against Man City she was. I probably can't explain it very well on here, but no, I think to have a performance like that last week and then come back in and get 2 assists or whatever it was yesterday, play really well and be arguably the standout player. I think fair play to her. Do you know what I mean? Credit where credit's due. She's had a rough start to the season. I think, to be fair, part of it is with Russo leaving. Do you know what I mean? They've had that chemistry and whatnot, and it's always going to be hard, isn't it, when a player that you've got that chemistry with leaves, isn't it? But yeah, I think now she's kind of finding her groove again, and hopefully having some assists on her tally will do it good.
I agree with everything you said there, apart from the bit about Russo. Gotta be honest.
Say something there.
Yeah, because me personally, I don't think it's that. I don't know. I don't know with Toone because I think she's been all right. And again, yesterday I think she was all right, but I don't think she was exceptional. But again, I don't think the whole team is. So when the whole team's level drops, Toone is noticed because she is one of the, I guess, the players that can reach that elite level. Her drop is going to be more noticeable because of the levels that we know she can get to above, I guess, other players in the side. So a conversation I kind of wanted to have, because this obviously midfield debate goes on and on and on all the time. And again, I don't think our midfield, it's the same conversation we've had before, the whole team maybe isn't performing at the highest level at the moment. But I felt yesterday when Lad came on, we looked a lot more in control of the game from a defensive and an attacking point of view when Zellum is then pushed further up. I think I took a picture of it in the first half. Zellum playing as that lone six for me, that has just got to stop because Zellum is on her own and Toone and Miyazawa are 30 yards up the field. Zellum's not going to be able to beat the Pret and play that kind of pass. It's just not her game. Whereas when you put Lad there and you push Zellum a bit further up, we know the kind of pass she can do. Slater, you just said a second ago that Miyazawa brings out the best in Toone. So what would you be looking to do with this midfield? Are you keeping it the same, keeping it Zellum, Toone, Miyazawa, or are you a little bit kind of more on my side in terms of one of lads or another has got to play in that team to push Zellum a bit further forward?
I think Lad on form is that player, but injuries have been mentioned, and I'd like to see more of Irene, or however you say it, Irene. She could be that player. She looks like she's got an eye for a pass, but we've seen very little because of injury. So, that's not something we can count on now. Hopefully that is the future. Nalson's quite a physical player, but I don't feel like she's a sitting deep midfielder either. So I think Lad is the option right now with Irene, if we see what we hope or think we'll see from her being a possible in that position as well. And like you say, and like I said before, Zellum further forward. If she's on the pitch, I think she's better right in the middle of the park. Not attacking midfielder, not defensive midfielder, just midfielder, getting a little bit involved in everything. And I think Jake said before, Zellum and Toone in a midfield too would be overrun. And by no means saying that should be the midfield. I just think those tweaks for the individuals would get better out of them. Not necessarily together, but if you've got the right players in the right positions, I think those are better positions for those two players. Lad, we all know about. We've seen her form over the last few years. She's kind of the glue that holds the team together at times. She, like we said about Toone, she does the dirty work. That is almost her primary role, and it just frees up the team to be better. And I think that's what you want in a player. Like we mentioned Miyazawa before, how she's not been a standout player. But you can't have 11 standout players. You need a couple of players that are there to facilitate other creative players. Miyazawa is one, and I think Hayley Ladd is a key other one.
I still think that when you're playing the likes of sort of the teams that aren't going to get at you, the likes of Bristol, you don't necessarily need to play with two sort of old-fashioned central midfielders. I think we've talked about the issue being what I find the issue to be is when we're in possession of the ball, when Mary's got it, all the centre backs. I think we've just said the twin tens are 30 yards up the pitch away from Zellum, and the only option it appears to be for the centre back is to play the ball to her. And when you're watching from the stands, Zellum is just basically being marked by 3 opposition midfielders because literally no one else drops deep to try and help with the ball. And I don't know why when you're a number 10 or you've got two of them, one of you isn't able to come and do that and offer an extra option. And then what happens is Zellum gets the ball, there are three players around her, and then she's getting absolute pelters from the stands for daring to pass it backwards. When if she turns around, she turns into trouble or she loses the ball, which also makes everyone cross. So I've no issue with playing her against the likes of Bristol and Leicester, but you need more support from one of those 10s dropping deep to offer an extra option, I think.
And I think that's why we see Jace come so deep, because at times Jace is further back and Toone and Miyazawa are right up by the wingers because nobody is helping. And, this is, I know people that Zellum's a hot topic, that divides opinions or whatever, but this is why I get my issue when people say, she loses the ball or she only passes backwards, because that's the only option that's on, because the other two midfielders are so high, so it has to go back to either Millie or May or whoever's playing, and then it goes out to the full-backs. And because Zellum is the only one in there, whereas I feel like if you've got that there, that connection, we saw it last season, you can then bring out the best in Toone a bit more, I feel, and the wingers are a bit more involved as well, and the fullback can go higher because Zellum is just on her own in midfield. And Charlie, like you said, it's not just against the big teams, but we saw it against Bristol, as you said. 2 or 3 midfielders are on it every time because they know if they stop that ball into Zellum, it's not going to get to Miyazawa or Toone because you can't bypass the midfield on our own. Jess, what's your kind of thoughts on this in terms of what you would do now? Like I said, because I stand by. I think Lad came in and did well, but as we've said there, Miyazawa and Toone on form as well.
I think it's a difficult one, and I think in some ways it kind of goes back to what do we actually want from this team? Like, what is the plan? What is the intention moving forward? Like I kind of said to you kind of pre-show that to me at the minute, it's like we have 11 players on the pitch and none of them have ever met each other before. But then actually I was thinking it's like we have 11 players on the pitch, but they've all been told a different tactic, or like they've all been told a different formation. Like no one is quite on the same wavelength. Like if someone kind of does a little 1-2 pass and makes a run from it, you're almost surprised that it's actually come off, because the amount of little flick-ons and stuff like that where players just aren't on the same wavelength is kind of getting a bit insane now. So I'm sort of copping out of your question a bit in terms of who we should have in the midfield, because honestly, I don't know. I'm not sure what you do. I think you need, this team needs some stability. Everyone needs to understand what they're doing, because I look around that pitch and they do not know what they're doing. Like, I am certain of it, that they are not 100% on board with whatever tactics or formation they've got. So something needs to change so that they know what their jobs are and what each other is supposed to be doing. And my kind of concern is, I guess, now that whilst Lad is playing well, if you throw her back into the team, which quite honestly, she probably deserves it based on her performance, does that mess up what Mark Skinner's trying to do already? I feel like it's just another variable to be added in when we should have stability right now. We kind of mentioned before about him not really sure of his best 11 or where people should play. By now, they need to figure it out. Quite honestly, there is no excuse to not have that nailed down. We're end of November, nearly in December. I'm assuming that they do, in fact, train during the week. That is what training sessions should be for. By now, all those new players that came in, we should know where their best position is. And I'm getting annoyed thinking about it, to be honest, again. I don't know what else I can say, because I feel like I'm just saying the same thing every week.
I think that's my big frustration, because it's like if I said to you, Jess, by the way, can you run AFU for the next month? You'd probably do it, but would you be enjoying it, and would you want to do that role? And I look at Zellum like that, like, does she really want to play that lone 6? Does she want to be converted into this Oberdorf, Kira Walsh type player? I don't know if she does, because for me that's not where her specialities lie. Yeah. And I don't know why we're going away from something that worked and trying to change players into players that they're just not for me. And I think Shane's hit the nail on the head there. I did get the brunt of it yesterday with shouting on the terraces, but this is another problem. Last season we saw the ball go wide a lot to Hannah and Honor on either side. Jade was so open yesterday. It was unbelievable. But we are not seeing these passes to the fullbacks. And by the time it gets there, because it's Millie takes 1-2 touches, goes to Mayer, 1-2 touches, goes to Jay. By that time, the whole Bristol team shifted across. There's no space there. And I don't understand why last season
that's
this wasn't the case.
Weeks as well. You know, I think Connor, I said it to you at the City game. Like, we were a player down. If we could have got that ball switched, they were a player down. If we could have got that ball, switched it across the back line and played out, you know, they were out of position. They were a player down, and we could have actually done something. So again, I feel like every week I'm saying and I'm seeing the same things. So if I'm seeing it, just some little girl sat in the stands or watching it on the TV, why are they not doing more? If Mark wants to hit me up for any kind of coaching tips, I am available, just FYI.
I've said it in the stands loads, and I said it tonight about we just seem very risk averse now, unless Jace is on the ball. And I would never have described us as being risk averse, even if you go back 5 years to the championship season with Casey Stoney in charge. It's almost like you sort of joked a little bit, but I think you meant it really, about watching Louis van Gaal's Man United. It seems to be, looking from the outside in, it just looks like they don't want to make a mistake. So I'd rather not play the pass and lose the ball. So I'll just make the easy sort of square or sideways pass every time, because that fear of failure. And I think if you're sort of playing like that as an elite footballer, that's a worry, I think.
I mean, Reece, how do you kind of look at... Sorry, Stacey, just before you come back in, I just want to bring Reece on this as well, in terms of what you... Again, this conversation around the midfield, obviously, with Lad came in, and also just how you see United this season in terms of, and obviously yesterday in particular, from that point of view. Because, like I said before, it's not something we saw last season. We weren't having these kinds of conversations last season.
No, I mean, I think looking at the Bristol game is quite difficult to just make a judgment off that. Because again, they are a side that when they were last in WSL were getting 4 or 5 put past them every game, and now they are, you know, they're taking Arsenal to the wire, they're taking Aston Villa to the wire. Like, it's not like United are the only team that have struggled against Bristol City this season, which I think is important to point out. They are making it really tough for the majority of teams. But yeah, I mean, it was just sluggish. And I think that was the biggest problem. And with the reluctance to kind of take risks, I think stems a lot from the mistake we saw at the back at Old Trafford last week. I don't want to keep going back to it, but you know, you've seen how much the media have made of it, and you know, we're seeing people turn on Ertz, we're seeing them turn on Letitia for one mistake. So I can kind of get why the players are a bit reluctant to do anything that's a bit risky and might not pan out the way they want. But no, I mean, I think the foundations are there, and it's just trying to. I just don't know why it's not working, because on paper it should be. It's a great squad that's strengthened from last season. You know, realistically, the personnel changes haven't been too big, and I just don't know whether it's the quality elsewhere in the league has caught up, or what. I'm really not sure. But yeah, it's not the United we've grown to know and love in past seasons, is it?
I think it is partly what Reece has just said about the quality catching up, because we were devastated with the performance against Brighton, but then they went and did the same to who else? Who was it who lost against them? Then was it City that they beat? So you know, there is a little bit of that, but judging our own performances, we can see what we should be capable of. And the risk averse that we're talking about, that's where this dot-to-dot passing comes in, where it's 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you've got to the winger, where one long ball, if it fails twice but makes it the third time, you're probably through, especially with the pace of Jade on the right and the position she takes up as a more advanced fullback. And that brings me to a comment from TJ earlier. I was trying to filter through some of the Arsenal chat in the comments and found TJ saying maybe that's where you bring a fullback in to help Katie Zellum when she's isolated in the middle. And I think what some of our best performances have seen, Jade is almost a right winger with the pace to get back into defence if she needs to, and Hannah Blundell not advancing too much, not being too adventurous to kind of compensate. And that's maybe where a left back could drift into the middle when the defence gets the ball, because you've got Toone or Miyazawa drifting left to help Galtland on the left wing without a full back supporting her. You've got Jade on the right pushing Parris from right wing as a second striker. So that extra fullback can kind of drift into the middle and help progress the ball forward, as well as one of the 10s dropping deeper. And that just gives you simple numbers in better positions where you've got the ball. You know, like we said, if the 2 10s are 30 yards away from Katie Zellum, but nobody's allowed to pass it more than 10 yards, then you've got a massive gap in the middle where nobody's allowed to go.
No, yeah, I've got nothing really to add on. I think I agree with all the points that you've made on that one. There's a question from Sporty there in terms of are the players a bit too snappy with each other. I've got so much to say on this, so I'm not going to go into it too much. But I think it's evident. I think you only have to look at that second half in particular, certain members of our defensive unit, I shall say, without naming them. I think we've said it before. I think Polly said it on the show after the City game. You know, me and Jess have spoken about it as well. This blame culture that's creeping into United at the moment, where it's always somebody else's fault every time we do something wrong. And it doesn't even have to be when we concede. There's something, players are always blaming each other for something else. Whereas I feel like that unity in the squads, they probably all still get on off the pitch, and I'm sure everything's fine there. But on the pitch, we didn't see this last season. It was that kind of that camaraderie got us through games. Whereas this season, it seems to be a bit more. I'm just going to say blame culture because that's how I see it. Has anyone got anything to add on that comment, by the way? Obviously, for those of us that are there and saw it.
It's like you said last season, you didn't have that kind of blame culture, but it's because you had the results. Do you know what I mean? It's always, you're still getting the results and you're still walking away with 3 points, but you're not comfortably getting the results, and there are mistakes creeping in here and there. I think once you start playing well again, that blame culture will go, because you can afford to make one mistake here and there if you're dominating games and whatnot. But when it's still so closely fought and you're struggling and only just scraping by in games, you're going to have that blame culture. It's natural to an extent. Obviously, it's more ideal if you don't have it, and I think some clubs are doing better with that than others. But yeah, I mean, I don't think it's something to massively worry about. And I think once the performances start to improve, it'll disappear. But again, the performances going to improve while you still got that blame culture. It's that kind of like vicious cycle, I suppose.
I think it does after January. Personally, I'll just leave it as that. I think people could probably work out what I'm on about.
I think like United are a good enough and a big enough team that they will kind of sort themselves out. And again, I wonder if some of it goes back to the players just not seeming to know what each of their roles are. If someone makes a mistake, I don't know if there's a bit of like, well, that was your man. No, it wasn't. It was yours. There seems to be a bit of that going on. And I think if we can kind of deal with that problem, then, then we start picking up results, then people start blaming each other. If someone loses their player, they're like, right, hands up. Yeah, that was me. Fairs, my bad. But at the minute, there just seems to be like a bit of, well, who was marking that, a bit of confusion. So I think if we can get over that, then results start coming, team morale and everything boosts, and we go from there. But yeah, January, hopefully, new year, new team.
No, that's fair enough. Should we go back to the second goal and talk about Nikita Parris, because obviously she is somebody on hot form right now. I think she's, what is it now, 8 in 7? I think she's on now. No spot in the Lionesses, of course not, because Serena has her favourites and all those kinds of things. But Charlie, for yourself, into Parris again on the score sheet, nice header. Keeper probably maybe could have done better. It is pretty central out, but again, it's, as I said there, 8 in 7, good cross by Toone, and as I said, Parris is pretty much the undroppable forward right now, right?
Yeah, but she was, yeah, absolutely, and she is inevitable at the moment. Andy's spoken about players not being ready and in the box or wanting to arrive late. She is the one. If there's someone going to be there, it's going to be her. And I thought it was a great header, got between the two centre backs, and I know it was near the keeper, but it was a powerful header from very near to where the goalkeeper was, so it was always going to be tough for her to save it. But I just think you can't argue with her inclusion at the moment. I still stand by, if she was playing on the right against Man City, we might have had a bit more joy. Obviously, she was out of position as well for that game. There's lots to talk about sort of players that have left United this year and how much better they're doing. There's been very little talk about what a massive improvement in sort of output we've seen from Nikita Parris since she came to us. And she's incredibly important to us at the moment. She works really hard. She presses from the front and she harries and she causes all sorts of problems. And I always feel like when she receives the ball in and around sort of 12 yards out, it's usually it will result in a shot on target, certainly, which we saw a couple of times in this game, and more often than not it leads to a goal. So yeah, she's my shout this year. I think she will end up scoring the most goals for us, which I probably wouldn't have said at the start of the season when you look at the players that we brought in. But again, a sort of a goal typical of her at the moment, being in the right place at the right time, and not just through fluke or luck. It's through anticipation and hard work and being willing to score sort of those scruffier goals. So yeah, really pleased for her. 8 goals already for the season. I think our highest scorer last year was 10. So we're already on 8 from her. So really pleased, yes.
Not bad for a Finnish player.
I know.
Slater, go on. Talk to us about, I guess, Nikita Parris this season. Obviously, like I said, in this game, getting on the score sheet again and just, being the one forward that we can look at this season and going, that's where our goals are coming from.
Yeah, last season I said that I thought she'd be a big player for us this season because of her Champions League experience, but she didn't really feature much around the time that we were kind of accepting subpar performances in the hope that we would perform in the Champions League qualifiers. And she didn't really feature. Did she feature at all in those 2 games against PSG? If she did, it wasn't much, which I was surprised about. But now she's showing why maybe she should have done. She's coming in. She's I can't remember which game it was, but one of the high scoring games we were 3 or 4-0 up, and she had a shot that wasn't a bad shot, but didn't really threaten enough, and she was fuming with herself. You could see the hunger in her. It wasn't enough that we're 3-0 up and I've just missed a shot. It was, that's not good enough. I need to be better. We need to be better. And that's the kind of attitude you want. Whether the group dynamic is fist bumps and Lego club, or whether it's demanding more from each other, as long as the dynamic works for everybody, that's what you want. So to see her in there, say, looking disappointed because she didn't make it 4-0, is the kind of standards that you want to set. So I'd have liked to have seen her more in the Champions League games, but she has worked herself into the team. She's being rewarded for her performances, which is something that people complain about not happening often. So it's good to see her getting the starts and getting the goals to go with it.
No, certainly. Before we get back to Parris and Jess and Reese, have your say on this. Obviously, Charlie, I know you've got to quickly hop off, but I can't let you leave without your player of the match. Who would you have gone for and why on that one?
Yeah, parenting gets in the way of loads. I voted for. You say that like, who would you vote for? Like I shouldn't vote. Maybe I'm not allowed to. Controversial. I voted for Jace just because she is the one player that whenever she gets on the ball, it excites me when I watch them at the moment. It's just her. And like I said, I think she was really unlucky not to come away with a couple of assists against Bristol, because I think she did a lot of really, really good stuff. And I think without her, we would have looked impotent for a while, for want of a better word.
I think that's pretty fair. A few people agree with you. She has got some votes on the poll, so yeah, I think it's a pretty fair shout. Yes, parenting, it gets it. But we appreciate you coming on for an hour or so. Anyway, we'll see you very soon. That's for sure. Jess, over to yourself on. Oh, hang on, we've gone more zoomed in now.
I wasn't expecting my face to suddenly zoom in. What were we saying, Parris? For me, I think she's just performing kind of how we know she had, or how we know she can when she's sort of been at her kind of peak. She's one of probably the most hardworking players I think I've ever seen. So the fact that she's getting, results now, recognition, banging in goals left, right, and centre. We've had some big names coming into the squad, and she's really kind of cemented her position. She's pretty much undroppable at the minute. Along with Jade, she's one of the few people that you think like, okay, she could do something here. She's going to bag a goal when we need it most. And yeah, popped up again, another goal. Unlucky to kind of not get that second one that she when she went crashing into the post. And again, with that one, it's just an example of how hard she's willing to work. She went flying into that post. I do hope that she is okay. And yeah, like Mia said, I'd leave Arsenal too. She's come to United. I was a bit sceptical, I must admit, but she's worked hard. Runs literally non-stop, played herself into the team, and I don't see how you can drop her now.
Yeah, exactly. I think on that one. And Amara, just before you lose it over that is part of the chant. Just in case you're wondering why Mia just randomly put that into the chat, it is part of Parris's song. So That's why. That's the context behind it for people who maybe don't know the chance at games. Go on, Reece. Bring us home on this one in terms of from a Parris point of view. She's obviously our top scorer this season, 8 in 7, and it is worth noting as well, 8 in 7. But one of those 7 was 2 minutes against Brighton, and another one of those was 45 against City. So yeah, technically, I'm going to say 8 in 6, even though it isn't really. But we'll go with 8 in 7, obviously for factual reasons. But yeah, what have you made of her? And again, like I said, being on the score sheet again for United.
No, I mean, she was fantastic yesterday, and I don't want to give away too much as to what I'm leaning towards for the player of the match sort of vote. But yeah, I mean, she's fantastic, and when you've got a team that's not playing well, you do need those 1 or 2 bright sparks, don't you? And I think between her and Jay-Z, then even if the rest of the team's not ticking over, they're the 2 that are going to drive something. And it's so easy when your team isn't playing well to just kind of drag yourself down and settle for the bare minimum. But she's still pushing for it. She's still giving it her all. And I mean, that's all you can really ask for, isn't it? And when she's getting the goals on paper as well at the end of it, fair play to her. I mean, the move to United kind of did really rejuvenate her career as well, didn't it? You know, you look last season, yeah, she was all right, but nothing extraordinary. But again, it's just she's taken the opportunity this season, and she's shining. So
there we are, exactly. Maybe a Lioness spot at some point in the near future, but I personally can't see it because I just can't see Serena budging from those. But from a United point of view, that's a good thing because it means she gets a bit of a rest while other players are out all over the place. Saying that, though, Chelsea are pulling their players out of international duty. I've been seeing while we've been live on here with Sam Kerr's all of a sudden got something that she can't go on international break when she's been playing for the last couple of weeks for Chelsea.
Yeah, for injury, I think they're saying.
Oh yeah, that's a
Which, I mean, when you bag the hat trick, don't really.
Oldest trick in the book. That keep your players at club. Don't let them off. I wish we'd do that a lot more. I've got to be honest.
You do that a little bit more.
So, yeah, I wish we would, but there we are. Player of the match then, Slater. I'll start with yourself. Who have you gone for and why?
The keeper. Because you wouldn't let us put her in the vote, but I think it demonstrates that we had no standout performers, and that despite our poor performance, there were some very, very good saves that kept it at 0-0 for longer than it should have been. But if you want me to be professional, then I'll go with Toone just for the 2 assists, because when everybody's average, you've got to find the little differences, and those 2 assists do it.
Yeah, I think that's pretty fair. Reece, who would you have gone for?
See, honestly, I can't make my mind up between Parris and Jay-Z. I'm going to go towards Jay-Z for the same reasons you were saying, Jess. She just excites you when she's on the ball. She really does. And you get that kind of feeling that if something's going to happen, she's going to be the one to provide it. But again, yeah, Liv Clark for Bristol was absolutely fantastic. So if we could just pick player of the match without going United player of the match, it's Liv Clark any day for me.
Yeah, I think she certainly did all right, didn't she, in the goal? Do I want to bring that up? I've heard her name said so many different ways. I should say Jace because that's how she said it on her interview thing she did with United. But
James
commentators, yeah, who knows with that one. Go on, Jess. Who have you gone for?
To be honest with you, I don't know. I keep changing my mind. There's like little reasons for each of them, but none of them stand out enough for me to be like, yes, this is the player. However, I am going to go with Ella Toone. That might just be because I really like her. But I think she's getting back into it now, getting into the swing of things. 2 assists. She was kind of the difference maker, really, in all of this. So, yeah, for me, Toone.
Yeah, I think it's a fair shout. The chat agrees with you. Toone did win today with 46%. Miyazawa on 24, Parris 22, and Jace down there on 6. And yeah, High, and you're right with some of that was annoying in the Liverpool game. Was it instead of Riviera? It was like I can't even remember how they were saying it, but it was really bad on that one. Yes, there we are. Right, before we wrap this up, then obviously the 2 along the bottom. Have you got anything to shout out, Slater? Start with yourself. Obviously, the Barmy article is still up and running. What issue are we up to now on that one?
The current one's 11. 12 is coming in January with a very exciting feature in there, which I can't give much away now. But you might want to read it. And the one after that, I have found a third former Red to interview who played for United between 1985 and 1995. So that'll be the third pre-2005 United player to be featured in the fanzine. So keeping that history alive and making sure we tell the whole story. The OG 21 might have been the originals at this stage, but there are a lot that came before that, and it's important to keep that story going. So yeah, next 2 issues should have some very good things to read.
It's certainly well worth getting. Where can people buy it for people, for maybe some of our newer audience maybe haven't seen you before? Can you get it online? Obviously at games as well. Obviously you sell it there.
Yep, next to the merch sellers at games. I was in that spot first, by the way. They copied me. But it's good to have them attracting the attention. But yeah, online, if you go to my Twitter, which is on the screen, there's a link tree in there which goes to the Substack posts. So that's free newsletter to keep everyone updated. The podcast, which is weekly on Spotify, which never exceeds 15 minutes because I'm lazy. And this latest one was only 4 minutes because I didn't want to talk much about the derby. And then the big cartel store where you can buy the fanzine. There's issues 1, 3, and 8 are sold out. There's a few left of others, but there are PDF versions available as well of all of them, and they don't run out because that's digital. So get onto there and you can order it. And if you order it by post, you get a cool little wax seal that has a Barmy Article logo on it, just because. Why not? Feels pretty cool to do.
They certainly are. So make sure I'll put the link in the description so it's easy for people to find on that one. Erlen, are you really going to make me do this? I'm going to say, actually, I think by the end of this year, we're going to stop asking this question. So any new guest that comes on now until the end of the year, that'll be it then. And we're going to have something new for 2024.
That's not going to happen.
It'll be the new theme of the show, I think.
You might be asking another question by then, but it won't be a different one. It'll just be a second one as well as this one.
Yeah, this question is eternal.
And you'll probably be the butt of the joke for the second question as well, so you might as well keep it to just the one.
Exactly.
I mean, Mia's put it there, Reese. Is this going to have any... Oh, and another one as well that she's just thrown in. But yeah, I'm not going to ask you this question with any context. But
I mean, I saw a little bit what Polly and Mia were saying last week about the burger conversation. I've got to be honest. I got a bit confused. I don't really know what happened to kick it off. They eat it the normal way. The way, do you know what I mean? You pick it up, you shove it in your mouth. You know what I mean? I can't be doing with no knife and fork or flipping it upside down or
I love that. Like that. I love that you didn't specify the method. You just said the normal way.
You know what I mean? Like, you look at an advert for eating a burger. That's the normal way. That's how I eat a burger. Simple.
I can't be having that.
You can't be faffing around with anything different.
There's a follow-up to this as well. Have you watched The Lion King?
I actually haven't. I've got to admit, I've not watched The Lion King ever.
Yes. Right, you can come back. It's fine.
I feel like clips, but I've never actually sat down and watched it all.
There we go. So everyone who was slating me in the comments.
That doesn't mean we'll stop slating you. It just means we'll slate Reese a little bit as well.
I was going to say, you've just added to the people now that are getting slated.
Yeah, I got to watch out next time I come back on, haven't I?
I was going to say, Jake, you have got a point. It's all for United heritage. I'm not joking. I think I said before, for people who maybe haven't seen it, we this started on a watch along with me, Barry, Charlie, and Deb and Mark, who people might know from the channel, for Bayern Munich pre-season last summer. So 2022 summer this started. So nearly 18 months has passed since this started. So it's been quite a while. Honestly, we're trying to go professional here. Maybe the next time me and Jess are on paddock, we'll sneak that question in as well. We'll see if we can get that question on there.
No, Connor, for your own sake, don't. They won't have you on again.
Yeah, maybe that'll be the end of that contact.
Like, knife and fork? Get out now. Cut.
That's a new one. Maybe. I might try that.
Good luck.
See if that'll catch on. You've been removed, apparently, Reese.
Oh, I've lost my job.
That's a shame, though. But there we are. Reece, is there anything you want to shout out while you're on here? Obviously, I know you do obviously your journalism. You were at the game yesterday, obviously covering that as well.
I mean, I suppose I ought to shout out the Valve a lot better than I. So cheers, Mia. Cheers, Polly. Cheers, whoever else is watching. Yeah, you're all right. Please don't kick me out because I'll eat your burger. Yeah, that's about it. I don't really do a lot that's exciting.
Sorry, I'm not laughing at you. The show always goes off the rails towards the end, doesn't it? It's quite something. But that's why everyone keeps coming back to watch us, though. We have the serious conversations. We have. Oh, apparently, do you own a website?
Yeah, I do. I suppose. If you go to my Twitter, which I think's on screen at the moment, maybe I don't know.
It will be in a second.
I do have a website. I do women's football journalism and whatnot. So. You can check that out if you want, or you can just completely ignore it. I don't really mind.
You got me intrigued.
You'll have a look. You there that you own a website, like, but thanks, Mia.
So if I put more time into it now, she kicked me out of Aval, haven't I?
True.
There we are. It's yeah, it's the Lion King that shocked a lot of people. Yeah, that's the story of the show. Yeah, well, maybe. Well, that's probably the wrong wording.
Yeah, I was going to say maybe not. Maybe not.
No, I do like his laid-back approach to the promotion, though, because I always find that I don't tweet anywhere near enough for somebody who runs a fanzine. So if you do see me tweet, retweet it, because I'm crap at it.
It's not happening again anytime soon.
Indeed, and that's good. Obviously, yeah, going to go check out the fanzine after this, which everyone should do because it is absolutely brilliant. So make sure you do that, and obviously follow in Slater because, as he said, he's got his own podcast as well. 15 minutes of fanzine, isn't it? It's called. So yeah, if you don't want to listen to a full hour like we do, what is he doing?
Jay-Z, who's he?
It's just the best Brazilian striker in the WSL.
I'll let you off.
Thank you.
Chop, Connor.
What's on it? There we are.
Best appearance there.
Do you want to answer that quickly, Andy, before we wrap this one up?
This?
Yeah, I think it's because when we had Mia on last week, she had a load of artwork behind her as well. That she'd actually drew those.
Right, so that's completely not football related at all. My daughter is called Sophie, and she's a proud redhead. So we got my wife's cousin, who's an artist, to draw Sophie from the BFG in the BFG's hand.
Is that what it is? Sorry for this, Andy.
Quite far away from you. Yeah, can you see it?
So it is. Very nice. There we are. We're going for artwork now. Last week we had Mia, Shark, and Pepper. Was it last week? I can't remember what it was. Chili or something.
Plot twist though, she doesn't like the BFG.
It's not a great film, is it?
That ruined it a little bit. She's like, look at this, you're in it. I don't like it.
Yeah, it's a film that I'd actually seen, to be fair, as well.
Oh,
I know.
breakthrough.
I don't remember anything that happens in it, but I have seen it. Yes, Jake, I have. I just couldn't tell you a
Really
thing.
bad film to have watched when you've not seen like anything else.
Isn't it weird? Isn't it? Yeah. It was a prawn, wasn't it, Mia, that you were drawing? That and was it?
There was a shark, a prawn that I think was actually a chili, and what was the other thing?
Was it a lion or something?
It was like a snake or something. I don't know.
If it's not, she's going to kill us for that.
Oh, yeah.
Actually, while we're on artwork, this is something I was working on the other day. I work in finance, but I've got a sideline in journalism of a fashion. But as a little bit of sketching that I do, I just knocked this together the other day.
Ooh. Oh, that's sick.
That is unreal.
That's actually brilliant.
I'm assuming everybody knows that this wasn't me.
Oh right, it wasn't. Oh, okay.
It's the Stanley Chow's Miyazawa from the signing announcement. You know how he did all the artwork for all the announcements for men and women. So me and Sophie got to go to it, and we got one of them with her autograph. So yeah, I'm glad you thought I was capable of that Stanley Chow masterpiece, but no, not me.
That's it. Just before we do wrap this one, we have been corrected. It was a giraffe, and she's not very happy with us for that because we got it wrong. Yeah, apologies for that, mate. Yeah, Oh,
Yeah, we're
dear.
getting that glitter.
And just very quickly, because I think this wins. You won comment of the night earlier, and to me, you've just beaten it with this one. You're good at this, Shane. We need to get Shane. This is an open invitation to you to get back on here at some point, because it's been a while since you've been on the channel, so we need to sort that out. Oh God,
You
we're
just
gonna
need to remind him the day before so he remembers that you're coming on.
I couldn't believe that. I was ignoring Reese on the way out as well by accident. I was walking out and Reese and Andrew were shouting at me, like saying, "Oh," and I was just walking.
You're doing the vlog at that point, weren't you?
Yes, I was finishing that off. Which people, if you haven't seen, by the way, free plug, went out yesterday. Go and check
You're
it out.
welcome.
Me and Andrew Ball walking through the streets of Bristol. But there we are. Anyway, right, we'll wrap it up there. Barry's going to be back on Thursday, which is why he's not on tonight. So, fans forum, which is something we've not actually done this season. We've not done one since pre-season. So, some familiar faces will be back for that one because we've not done one of those for a long, long time. Talking all things in more detail. We'll talk obviously a bit more about the back line. Obviously, we're getting close to January, so the Mary Up stories are starting to ramp up. So I'm sure that will come up at some point. And obviously, we'll talk a little bit, obviously, maybe about the attack as well. Make sure you're liking the video, subscribing. We're getting better on TikTok now, by the way, so you can follow us there and on Twitter at allforunitedvids. So come over and check all of that good stuff out. And yeah, just look forward to the next one. Thanks to Reece and to Andy for joining myself, Jess, and obviously Charlie a bit earlier on. Make sure you go and check out all their stuff they shouted out. It is absolutely brilliant. We shall see you guys in the next one.